Hey everybody. I was going to make this video this weekend, but I'm going to a pride event with someone very close to my heart. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't feel like doxing anybody. I wouldn't do that to anyone. But she's kind of like a fill-in mommy for my mommy who lives all the way in Florida. But I figured some of you might appreciate hearing my transition story. And I didn't want to end Pride Month without actually talking about it. So it's going to be short but sweet. I knew I was a girl at 6 years old. That's right, 6 years old. I've always been really self-aware, and I just knew who I was. And the thing is, growing up, I grew up in the system. That's because my family wasn't able to take care of an autistic kid. Um, Eventually, I learned tried to learn about what it means to be trans because I started understanding that word at a very early age. I want to say 16. Nobody influenced me. Nobody convinced me I was a girl. It's kind of like a light switch going off. Then as I got older, I couldn't help but be myself, and it was pretty obvious. And the thing about group homes is they are very anti-trans to a point where they will punish a child for even being hyper feminine if they were assigned male at birth, or hyper masculine if they were assigned female at birth. I was very open about being a girl. I didn't exactly hide it, and I was punished severely for it. Even when I got out of the group homes, I figured I'd be able to transition, right? Because I was legally of age. I could do whatever I needed to. But the state would intervene, and they would make it almost impossible for me to transition. I wasn't allowed to go look for gender specialists. I wasn't allowed to get on hormones for all the way up into my 30s. And it was very hard. And even at 16, I was really depressed. I went through that first puberty, and I hated myself. I felt extremely dysphoric. I felt alone. I didn't have anybody that knew what I was going through. And I was in group homes, forced to be in group homes with boys. And for a girl, that is very traumatic. Um, and not once did I ever stop knowing who I was. Uh, when I turned 20, I think, or no, when it was when I was 18, I had started to explore that with myself, my transition, and I would shop for clothes. I'd do things to look more feminine, but I was severely overweight. I had a lot of unchecked self esteem issues. I didn't think I was pretty, so I would hide who I am just so people wouldn't hurt me. Um, I ended up, I didn't fully, officially even transition until I was 20. I came out about who I am. I developed a sense of self worth, and I said, this is who I am, and if you guys don't like it, tough. And the state did not like that, and they would do everything to try to manipulate the situation to force me to live as a man, and I hated it. And eventually, with the state, it came to a point where they were trying to put me into group homes because I wouldn't detransition. I shit you not. They wanted to put me back into state care because I wouldn't. They wanted me to put me in a care facility because I wouldn't detransition. And I had reached a pretty dark point in my life by my early 20s to my and no, it wasn't a dark point. I was just depressed, and I just went through this promiscuous phase, and I didn't care about having a clean place, bathing, or anything like that. I just let myself kind of just go to hell. And then it was like, for those 10 years, it was just really weird. I wanted to fit in, but I didn't want to sit there and give up who I am. So I would bounce back from trying to live as a boy. And by the way, people could tell when I was trying to live as a boy versus when I was being my authentic self, because I would mirror what other people saw when I was boy moding. And eventually, when I turned 30, I had gone through a breakup, and I said, "This is going to be it. If I don't transition, I don't think I'm going to be able to go on." And I and have the transition happened like after my first battle with my eating disorder, and I hit a turning point. I said, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to feel fulfilled. And it took a friend that kind of saved my life, and I don't mean that lightly. She literally saved my life, and she helped me build on who I am. About And the only time I ever really hit a road bump with that was I was trying to have a connection with my family, and I thought they wouldn't accept me if I was trans. And a few times, about 2 times, I tried living as a boy, but it looked like I was depressed, and it looked like I was just mirroring what I thought other guys do. And that's pretty much what it was. And then after that, I had a very real conversation with one of my parents and made it clear that at that point, she made it pretty clear she wasn't willing to accept me as her daughter. And it came to a pretty ugly turn. And then back in 2016, mid 30s, yeah, no, yeah, it was mid 30s, I decided I'm going to go live with the one family member who always accepted me, my mother, my biological mother. And she took me in, accepted me as her daughter. And I'll never forget the date she accepted me as her daughter was over Messenger. And she actually used the word daughter. And we had this really big, heartfelt conversation. And the next day, my dad started making plans to move me out to Missouri. And then for those first couple of years, it was really hard to get anybody to help me with my transition. But I eventually moved in with a friend at the time. I considered her like a sister, and she pointed me in the right direction. And I really started, that's when I started made headway. And ever since then, I've just been on this journey with my transition. I went on hormones back in 2018. And the one thing I've noticed since I officially came out as Jane and accepted who I am and everything that came with it, I realize I am that much happier. And I hope this at least inspires someone out here who's going through similar stuff. And I think that's why pride is so important to me. It's taking pride in yourself too, daring to be seen when the world doesn't want you to. That's pretty awesome. And I hope that somebody that's watching this realized, hey, I'm going through the same thing, and she turned out okay. Maybe I'll turn out okay. But yeah, that's my transition story so far. And I've been talking with my nurse practitioner about getting in touch for gender reassignment surgery, otherwise known as GRS. And yeah, that's next for my transition. I will never do facial feminization surgery because I look like my mom, and I've always wanted to look like my mom, and that makes me happy. I may consider augmentation, but I don't think that I'm going to do that anytime soon. But it's always in the back of my mind. I don't really think I need anything tracheal because I love how my voice sounds. I sound like my mom, and I sound like my sister, and I'm okay with that. And part of transitioning Again, if you don't think you're going to pass, if you don't think that, if you're not transitioning because you don't think you'll pass or you don't think it'll work out for you, that's not the goal. The goal should be that you want to be who you are. That's the goal for doing anything with your life. It has to feel right for you. Doesn't matter how you'll look, doesn't matter what'll happen. You have to do what's right for you. So if you were even ever, if you've been going through your life even thinking about it, do it. Be who you are. That's the end goal. And I didn't transition because I hated being a boy. I didn't hate that I was assigned male at birth. I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted what was in here to match out here. And I got pretty close so far. And I can't wait to see what's up next for me. Love you all.